It starts by saying, as you all know, our company will soon have to deal with a cocoa shortage. That phrase, deal with, is a phrasal verb, and it means to have a problem and be doing something about it. In this case, the company will be dealing with a problem with getting the cocoa they need to make their chocolate. Another example of using this phrase could be, on our camping trip, we had to deal with cold, rain, and wind.
That is not as much fun on a camping trip as I would like.
No.
Okay, so as you all know, we can guess from that phrase that they're probably addressing everybody in the company.
Right.
This is maybe an email that goes to all the workers. And the problem that they are dealing with is a cocoa shortage. A shortage is a situation when a person or a group doesn't have enough of a particular resource, usually something fairly necessary.
Right.
You could talk about a power shortage, so no electricity, water shortages, food shortages, etc. And a very huge important one from this year in Taiwan,
right.
A toilet paper shortage. There was no toilet paper, nobody had any. The stuff was like it was made of gold.
Right. After everybody had to run to the store and just grab it off the shelves.
Yep, so there was a shortage. Nobody could get toilet paper. There wasn't anybody to buy, any way you could buy it, so there was a shortage.
Right. It goes on to say, the reason for this is because the workers at the cocoa farm in Ghana that supplies us with chocolate are unhappy. And that verb supply means to give someone what they asked for or need. An example might be, Thai Power supplies electricity to every home in Taiwan.
Now we often use this in a kind of business sense, don't we, the verb supply?
It comes up a lot when you're talking about businesses, because businesses talk about supply, and the other thing, demand, which is what people want. And businesses have to
supply what people want.
Right.
But businesses like factories, they will need their own supplies. They don't kind of just create the stuff. They get it from somewhere else. Either it's grown or it's made in another factory.
Right.
Sometimes a factory just makes stuff and supplies it to another factory.
Right.
Like a lot of places in Taiwan, they would make computer parts and then supply those to other actual factories. Okay, so why were the workers unhappy? We've got a couple of things mentioned in this article, in this letter or email to everybody in the company. So the first thing they mention is they, the workers, were not being paid enough. Okay, we kind of talked about that as being a big problem. Farmers and workers in agricultural places don't often get paid as much as, you know, the owners of the farm or the companies that sell the coffee. They don't make enough money.
Right. And then they talk about another problem that, for some reason, they hadn't noticed before now. It says, we've found out that the farm was even hiring children to work there.
This is pretty terrible stuff. Sadly, even though this is an article and this is obviously a made-up situation, this is actually based on some truth. There was a study done, I think a guy from the Netherlands, he went to look at some of the chocolate producing farms, and yeah, they did hire children to work. And unfortunately, it's something, because it often happens in a different part of the world and you don't see it, you don't always really know what's going on there. And of course, it shouldn't be illegal to hire children. It should be illegal to hire children to work. It's completely wrong. Children should not be hired to work hard jobs in farms. Many countries have made laws to prevent that from happening. But sometimes bad people sort of break the laws, get around it, and make children do all this work, and they can pay the children even less. So this is a pretty terrible situation. To solve this problem, the letter says, we're asking the farm to begin following fair trade rules. So in that sentence, we use the verb solve, to solve. If you've got a problem, you want to solve it, because to solve is find the answer to a problem and then start putting that answer or that solution is the noun form of solve, into effect. So here it's the same kind of thing as dealing with that we looked at in the phrasal verb a few sentences ago, but solving it means to finally put an end to that problem so it's no longer a problem. We could talk about solving a work problem, solving an argument between two people, or even solving things like crimes and mysteries, as in this example sentence. Sherlock Holmes solved the mystery without having to leave 221B Baker Street. And if you've read the stories as I have, you know he can do that sometimes. So here we're talking about solving the problem by getting the farm to become a fair trade farm.
Exactly.
If you remember all that from yesterday, that's about making sure workers are paid fairly and making sure that everything's produced fairly, the workers are treated okay. And if that's the case, then the company can put a sticker or a badge on their product and say, we're a fair trade product. We're a company that treats our workers and the people who supply us fairly. Okay.
Right.
Now there's a bit more on that.
Right. And it makes it clear how they're going to solve it, because the company is the one that has a lot of power in this case. Because it goes on to say, if they don't, we've made it clear that we'll stop buying cocoa from them. So this is the company's power in being the one that buys all of the products.
Yeah, they're basically saying, if you don't treat your workers fairly, that's it, we're not buying it, you could well, and then the farm might close down, it might be out of business, because maybe the chocolate company will tell other companies, hey, don't buy from them, they employ kids, they don't treat their workers fairly,
Right.
So the farm could go out of business. So it's using their power, as Alex said, to sort of really influence them. It's not quite a threat, but it's almost a threat. So there we go. They're certainly trying to make it happen. And we go on, and the article says, if they agree, so if the farm agrees to become fair trade, the workers on the farm will get a fair wage right away. So that means immediately their wage or wages will improve. Because wage is often said as wages, we often use the plural form, but it's the regular money you get paid for your work. We could calculate your wage by the hour, the week, the day, the month, the year, and so on. And we could also use words like your pay, fair wages, fair pay. We could also say your salary, how much money you make for 1 year, for 1 month, and so on. Here's an example sentence. Ryan makes a decent wage, which means he can afford to take vacations abroad.
As Pat just said, this phrase, right away, means quickly, immediately, or without delay. An example might be, I asked for a new pair of chopsticks, and the waiter said he would get them right away. So when something is going to happen quickly, then we can use the phrase right away, like...
I guess we could also say straight away.
Right.
Yeah, right away,
we can do that.
Straight away means the same sort of thing. So okay, so this is how they're going to make sure that the farm workers get paid fairly. But with the fair trade thing, part of the rules is related to, you kind of got to check on it. You can't just go, okay, they're fair trade, and we can just say that. So you need to kind of be able to prove it. Otherwise, everybody could do it.
Right.
So this is where we get into the next part of the article, which says, also, people from fair trade groups will visit the farm often to check the working conditions there. So there are fair trade groups, there are organizations that can kind of make a decision like, yes, you can use a fair trade thing. No, your company can't because it's not fair, basically. The wages aren't good enough. And as well as the wage, they're going to check the conditions on the farm. When we give the word conditions as a plural, it means the things affecting the way people live or the way people work, especially with regard to how happy and how healthy the people working or living in this place are. So the conditions are things like, are people being paid enough? Are they getting enough time off? Are they working like just regular 8-hour days rather than being forced to work like 12 hours? Are they getting taken care of, for example, with things like medical care or education or chance for promotion and all of those kind of things? Do they have protection against just being fired one day for no reason at all? all of those count as conditions. You know, is the farm safe to work on? That would be another conditions kind of thing. Here's an example sentence we could use for that. The airport workers went on strike because they felt their conditions weren't good enough. And people can do that sometimes. If they feel that they're not being treated fairly, they can say, well, that's it. None of us are going to work until the conditions are improved, and you know, your company will get in a lot of trouble because it can't supply its customers' needs.
It then says, in addition, the farm will not be allowed to use chemicals on the cocoa plants. So this is another rule they're adding. And that phrase, in addition, includes the word add. And that's exactly what we're doing when we use this phrase. We use it to add another thing to what we already said. So an example might be, this group's main goal is to feed the homeless. In addition, it provides them with clothes and personal items. If you're talking about a group that helps people who don't have any homes and provides them with food, in addition, clothes and personal items. So not just one thing, we're adding another 2 or 3 more things.
And the thing we're adding, or the extra rule the company is adding in this case, is saying they can't use chemicals on the farm on the cocoa plants. So when we talk about a chemical, we're talking about a particular substance or a mix of substance. And we generally use chemical in this way to mean something that doesn't occur in nature. Of course, you can have natural chemicals. The stuff that's in our bodies is kinds of chemicals, but we're talking about chemicals when you mix different things together to create something that doesn't exist, and it will have a particular purpose. So chemicals used on plants generally make them grow much faster, or kill bugs, or make it easier for them to get water. They are made up of natural elements, but they're put together in a way that doesn't occur in nature. So many things like medicines, strong acids, stuff we clean our kitchens and bathrooms with, these are chemicals that are made by people. Here's an example sentence. You might look at a soda can and say, this soda can contains too many chemicals, so I don't want to drink it. Natural fruit juice is much better for me.
It then says, as part of the deal, we will also give the farmers some extra money. And that word extra is an adjective that means more than normal. An example might be, it was already hot today, but tomorrow it will be extra hot.
So what they're doing here is making sure the workers don't just get the money they're paid, but some extra money, some more money than they've kind of agreed to. And we see why in the next sentence. This, so the extra money, will help them buy better tools, build a clinic and a school, and more. So we kind of mentioned this yesterday. We talked about a clinic being a place for doctors. So this is just following up on the idea that Linda and Bob talked about making the workers be a happier, better place by giving them more stuff, by giving them schools and clinics and so on.
Right. And it closes with, hopefully, it will be good marketing for us to become a fair trade chocolate company too.
So why would that be good marketing?
So if you were going to buy a chocolate bar and you had the choice between one that was full of chemicals and made by children or not full of chemicals and not made by children, even if the one that wasn't made by very tiny hands was a little more expensive, which one would you pick?
Well, of course, you would want to buy the one that wasn't made by children and wasn't full of chemicals. So, yeah, it's good marketing. It shows that you as a company care more than making money. You care about people, you care about their workers and so on. So that's why it is good marketing. Okay, that brings us to the end of the article. So now we'll go to today's For You chat question.